In our first two sessions for this mini course on AI ethics, we placed a particular focus on the prospects for developing moral machines. That's machines that are sensitive to ethical considerations and factor them into their choices and actions. And we finished up reflecting upon the need for hybrid systems that both engage in top-down and bottom-up processes and integrate faculties beyond the capacity to reason as they make choices and actions. The final part of our second session was a little introduction to machine learning, the recent deep learning breakthroughs, and the value alignment approach that has been put forward by those working in the development of artificial intelligence. Let's just keep in mind that those who are working on the development of artificial intelligence, when they think about processing ethical considerations, they're particularly focused on ensuring that advanced systems far beyond what we have today, will be able to align their values with those of humans and ensure our safety and that their actions work in our interest. If we aim to design intelligent machines to also have moral intelligence and agency, are humans then the best or only model we should be using? There are, to be sure, commonalities between human and machine agents, and there are differences. Let's first look at some of the commonalities, some of the shared or similar capabilities, capacities that both machines and humans have. They both have memory. They both engage with symbolic reasoning. Humans only at times, machines, symbolic reasoning is the foundations that they're built upon. They both can engage in calculations. They both work with and sometimes create classifications for objects. So object classification is a similar capability. They both can engage in predictions. And they both have some capabilities in navigating their environments. Finally, they both engage in certain forms of self-representation. That's the monitoring of their internal states. But what we humans are engaged in when we monitor our internal states are very different than what machines are monitoring. Now let's focus for a minute on the differences. First, let's look at the differences in regards to what intelligent machines lack. First of all, intelligent machines do not have consciousness. They do not have a qualitative experience of the world. They don't know what it is like to be a machine in the environment they are moving through. Secondly, machines don't have self-consciousness. They aren't reflective in any way. They don't have a qualitative experience of themselves in the world. They lack what is known as semantic understanding. They don't understand the meanings of the words and concepts they're interacting with. Let's talk about machines that win at chess or Go. They do not understand that they're playing a game. They're engaged in a kind of computational analysis separate from the goals that we humans have when we think of the fact that we're playing a game. And the same is true for machines that have facial recognition capabilities. They have absolutely no idea what a face is. They're just matching up particular computational points against information they have within their systems. They lack sentience. That's the capacity to suffer or feel joy and pleasure. They don't have emotional motivations, the ability to be driven to act from emotional states such as desire or fear. And they lack a theory of mind, including empathy. You'll recollect from our earlier discussions that a theory of mind refers to the ability to recognize that what is in the minds of others differs from what is in our minds. And more importantly, to have empathy for other human beings based on our appreciation for the difference in their circumstance and our circumstances. Finally, machines do not have the ability to effectively critique and change their own end goals and motivations. Now, to be sure, there are researchers in artificial intelligence who have theories about how any of these capabilities might be instantiated in computational systems. But to date, these are all largely theories with very little proof of concept. Let us now turn to the differences between human and machine agents and focus on what we humans lack. For example, we do not have virtually unlimited data storage and retrieval capabilities. We do not have virtually unlimited computational processing speeds. Even the computers we have today operate at speeds radically faster than the ability of the human mind to think. And as you all know, computers are continually getting faster. We lack the ability for multiple instantiations. We humans have only one body, one mind. A software agent can run simultaneously on any number of suitable hardware systems. And it may even be able to simultaneously run different scenarios as to what its actions may or may not be. While we humans can consider alternative scenarios, we tend to do that sequentially, and that could radically slow down our selecting the best scenario, particularly in a situation where we needed to act quickly. And finally, we humans don't have a robust computational ability to coordinate our activities with those of other humans. Our cooperative skills are sometimes quite lacking, and we see this particularly in politics and international affairs, though obviously those humans who are best able to cooperate tend to win at various sports, such as basketball. But a computer network does have various ways in which it can be designed that the computer systems cooperate their activities with each other, are aware of the actions of other computers, and take those into account in their computationals. Now, this coordination cooperation, we should really give it a little bit more focus, because again, it's all predicated upon those capabilities that the machines actually have. And what our analysis has shown is that there are varying capabilities that machines have, varying capabilities that humans have, and as we all know, varying capabilities that different humans have. So some of us are very good at math, others are very good at hand-eye coordination, some of us are great at sports, others of us can do programming. So these varying capabilities suggest that intelligence is neither the property of a single human or a machine. There are many forms of intelligence, many attributes of intelligence. In other words, intelligence is collective and participatory. And solving collectively difficult problems entails learning to work together, having many voices at the table, some of which may even be AI systems. Today, the AI systems may actually play a role in our collaborative reflections as we try and solve very difficult challenges. But that role is usually through the information, the feedback that a human participant at the table has from various analyses they have run on computer systems, or that they can run in real time on computer systems. So all these differences suggest that machines can be full moral agents on the human model or not. And if not, what kind of moral agency can they have? To answer that question, I'm going to turn you over to my colleague, Shannon Valor.
Thanks, Wendell. Hi, everyone. I'm Shannon Valor. I'm the Bailey Gifford Chair in the Ethics of Data and Artificial Intelligence at the University of Edinburgh's Edinburgh Futures Institute, where I also direct the Center for Technomoral Futures. So let's continue to talk about intelligence. As Wendell said, there are many different kinds of intelligence and many different kinds of intelligence that already exist on this planet with us. There are also many possible forms of intelligence that have yet to be created. We know that humans are not the only intelligent agents on the planet. Crows, pigs, dolphins, cephalopods like squid and octopi, elephants, and many other primates all demonstrate robust forms of intelligence, especially if we understand intelligence as problem-solving capacity. But what's interesting is that humans are, as far as we know, the only beings on the planet with moral agency and perhaps moral intelligence. So that's what we're going to talk about now. Now, some intelligent animals do seem to have a basic sense of social fairness, something we might call proto-morality. For example, some primates will reject a reward that is less than what others receive for the same task. And many practice social reciprocity and follow certain group norms. So other creatures may, in addition to problem-solving intelligence, be said to have moral intelligence. What more is moral agency, and why does it matter? Well, let's talk about different kinds of moral agency that philosophers who've thought about artificial moral agency have considered. One weak kind of moral agency simply involves being able to do things in the world, in the environment, that humans happen to assign moral meaning or importance. In this weakest sense of agency, a traffic light can be said to have a kind of moral agency because its actions, such as changing from green to red, can do something that's morally important to us, such as preventing traffic collisions and saving human lives, and this is morally good to do. But of course, in this sense of agency, we don't attribute to the agent anything like moral responsibility for the good outcome. We simply attribute to the agent the physical power to make the change in the world that we judge as morally good. So this is not the kind of moral agency that we associate with personhood. So let's continue to think about stronger kinds of moral agency. Another kind of moral agency that's stronger than the one we just described is the ability to consciously follow moral rules and principles that society has put into place to govern social behavior. This kind of moral agency includes typically the ability to be held responsible for one's actions, to be held accountable by others for the harm or the benefits that one has caused. And in this sense, we often think of young children as not yet moral agents because they can do things that have moral consequences, but we don't yet think that they have the capacity of moral understanding and control to be able to be held responsible or accountable. So this kind of moral agency is a moderate moral agency that most moral persons will be seen to have. It's a capacity that most adults would be assumed to possess, most adult humans. So what would it take for a machine to have this kind of moral agency? To be able not only to perform actions that have moral consequences, but to be able to be held responsible and accountable by others for those consequences? That's an interesting question, in part because we have debates already, and these are debates that go back hundreds of years, thousands in some cases, debates about human accountability and where we draw the line between humans who perform an action that causes harm and humans that perform an action that we regard as suitable for punishment, for example. So Aristotle discussed the conditions of voluntary action and knowledgeable action that he thought were required in order to hold somebody blameworthy and punishable for an action that is wrong or causes harm. But one thing to think about with this kind of moral agency is that it can be very passive and very rigid. It can amount to just following a moral script. Think about humans, for example, who simply follow the dictates of their church leaders or their political leaders or their family elders, and simply follow the moral rules that they have been told are required of them or appropriate, who never question or examine or reflect upon those rules, or never determine whether those rules might not be appropriate in a particular unusual circumstance. So there's yet another fuller kind of moral agency that lies beyond what we've just described, because simply following a moral script, while still something we can hold others accountable for, doesn't exhaust the full moral capabilities or moral intelligence that human beings have, at least potentially. And it seems also that machines could follow moral scripts as well. If all it takes for a human to be a moral agent is to knowingly enact a moral program that has been given to us by society, then it doesn't seem too futuristic or unrealistic to imagine a machine in the future that could be aware of the moral script that it has been programmed with, and could deliberately select moral choices from that script. Would that make a machine a moral agent if it knew what the moral rules were and was able to, let's say, consciously follow the script? But again, let's come back to that notion of full moral agency. What more can we say about it? There's a kind of mature moral agency that involves the ability to consciously represent the idea of morality, to be motivated by moral reasons. That is, not just to be motivated by the desire to obey a figure of authority or to be liked or to avoid punishment, but to be motivated to do a moral thing for a moral reason because it is the moral thing to do. That's a further step that humans can take, but we don't always take that step, right? Sometimes we remain in that moderate place of moral rigidity and passivity where we're just kind of mindlessly following the rules. But when we're motivated by moral reasons, we're using moral intelligence in a more powerful way. In these cases, we pursue a moral goal because it's moral. We also may reflectively weigh and modify moral judgments that have been delivered to us by our society or that we ourselves have made in the past. So we might consider whether the moral principles that we've held ourselves to throughout our lives still serve the world, serve others, serve our own moral aspirations. And most importantly, there's also a capacity that humans have to develop new moral ideas. For example, think about the movements of civil rights, of environmentalism, of animal rights, of the land ethic that was developed in the later part of the 20th century to think about ethics and morality as applying to things like places and things that previously weren't seen as capable of being cared about for moral reasons. Humans have, over time, frequently expanded their moral horizons and enlarged their conception of what morality requires of us. So developing new moral ideas seems like it's an essential part of what it means to be a complete moral being and to exercise moral intelligence to the highest degree. So let's go back to those intelligent animals I was speaking about earlier. A crow, for example, can reason through complex problems and can even invent new solutions to those problems. So a crow can design a solution that has never been taught before by another crow, never seen demonstrated before. And this is a powerful kind of intelligence. A crow can also mark another crow or even a human as a friend or a foe and remember that person over time and the evaluation they've made of that person. And that seems almost like a moral judgment, right? That a crow is saying, this is a good person, this is a bad person. I remember that, and I'm going to respond to this person accordingly to that judgment that I've made in the past about them. So there's a kind of proto-morality that we might imagine crows experience. But as far as we know, a crow cannot wonder about how it can become a better crow, or about how it and its other crows could design a society of crows that is more just, more moral, more noble than the form of life that they currently enjoy. Humans, however, can do this. Humans have, over the historical record, repeatedly engaged in this project of moral creativity, moral reform, moral enlargement and critique, and change. So this poses an interesting question for us. If we aim to design intelligent machines to also have moral intelligence and agency, which of these kinds of moral intelligence, which of these levels of moral intelligence and agency are the model that we should use in order to base our designs of AI systems on? Are humans the best model to follow? Obviously, humans, despite our impressive capacities for moral critique and moral reflection, are also capable of moral degradation, of moral corruption, of moral decline. Are we, in fact, the right template to choose if we are seeking to build an artificial moral agent? Are there other templates we could imagine? And are we limited by our own experience of our own morality so that we couldn't envision another kind of morality that a machine could embody?